Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Minecraft Bedrock Survival Guide. Today we're going to be looking at one of the things that's so easy to get started with in a new world, and that's fishing. Fishing can be very overpowered, particularly if you build an AFK fish farm which haven't been nerfed on Bedrock. To get going, it's super easy. All you need is 3 sticks and 2 pieces of string, and bam, there we go. Once you've got your rod sorted, then you can come over to some water and cast it, which just means you click the right mouse button and it will throw the bobber into the water. Once you've cast the bobber, you've just got to sit there and wait until you see these blue bubbles come along. Once the bobber disappears underwater, you then just click the right mouse button and bring in your catch. When you're fishing, there's a few different items you can collect. These can be broken down into fish, treasure and trash items. As you can imagine, you want to get treasure, which includes books, bows, rods and name tags. Junk, on the other hand, includes warm boots, water bottles and other bits that aren't that useful. Apart from the treasure, one of the reasons you might want to fish early game is obviously for the fish. You can get puffer fish for water breathing potions, as well as cod and salmon, which will give you a good source of food. You can also see each time we bring in the line, we also get XP, which will help us get those valuable early game levels for enchanting. The main thing to consider when fishing is that it will take patience. It's just a matter of time to make a catch and then hoping you get lucky with the items you reel in. You can see we were quite lucky there and reeled in a rod. Some will be enchanted but some won't. As you catch enchanted rods, it will help you level up your fishing abilities. There's a few enchantments for fishing rods. Luck of the Sea will increase your chance for treasure, Lure will help you get more bites, Unbreaking will improve how long it takes for your rod to break, and Mending will allow your rod to fix itself with XP, which you will also get from fishing. Luck of the Sea, Lure and Unbreaking all have 3 levels, and Mending has 1. You can also get Curse of Vanishing, which you don't want, as it will make your rod disappear if you die with it in your inventory. You want to use the items you find from fishing to upgrade, so we're going to swap from the standard rod to our Mending Lure 2 rod, which will mend itself and which will get more bites whilst fishing. You can now see that as we fish our rod is mending itself. For later in the game, just be careful if your armour also has mending, it can take the XP rather than your rod and your rod can still break. We just got another rod there, and yeah, that's definitely better. This has mending as well as Luck of the Sea 2 and Lure 2. You can see how quickly we've gone from a basic rod to a fairly decent one, and hopefully it won't be long until we get a fully enchanted rod. The sun's going down, and whilst you can fish at night, I'm going for a nap to avoid the mobs. I'm just going to pop down a chest so we can see what we got. We have 30 cod, 10 salmon, 2 pairs of boots, pufferfish, bones, a bowl, and from our original rod we also upgraded it twice. We also got a name tag. This is what I mean, fishing can be really quick to get gear from. Sadly I didn't get any books though. Just make sure you have sky access above your bobber when you fish, otherwise it can harm your rates. It's future J-bugs here now, and the next thing I want to talk through is the loot in a bit more depth. When it comes to fishing, you have an 85% chance of catching a fish, 5% of getting treasure, and 10% of getting junk. Luck of the Sea 3 will increase your chance of treasure to just over 11%, so doubling the chance. When looking at an individual item level, an unenchanted rod would have about 0.8% chance of catching treasure, so just under 1% for each of the treasure items. If you're fishing with Luck of the Sea 3 though, that doubles to just under about 2%, so it's definitely worth getting Luck of the Sea 3 if you can. If you've struggled to find bamboo in the jungle, fishing is another great way to get it. If you're fishing in the jungle, you have a small chance of getting the item, so if you've looked everywhere else, it's worth the effort. There's a couple of other mechanics around fishing I want to touch on. I've made a bucket so we can talk about one of the other sorts of fishing. Whenever you fish with a rod, you won't catch live fish, but if you have a bucket, you'll be able to fill it with water and then swim up to fish and catch it in the bucket. If we then go back to land, we can pop it down and pick it back up again in the bucket wherever we like. The other mechanic I just want to talk through is that of the fishing rod itself. So obviously if you cast it in water, you just get the bobber. However, if you're near mobs, this wandering trader looks like he's come over here as a volunteer, you can actually cast the rod and catch these entities. You can see if we cast the rod at him, the line is now stuck in his head, and as we move around, the line stays connected to the wandering trader. If you then click your mouse button, you will reel the line in and drag the mob towards you. Boats, minecarts and leads are probably going to be much easier for moving mobs around, but nonetheless it's still an interesting mechanic that's good to be aware of. The next thing I want to talk through is how we can make fishing a little bit easier. We've already talked about how enchantments will make it more likely to catch better goods, but even if you just stood there casting the rod out and reeling it in, it's going to get boring pretty quickly. I don't know about you, but it's a bit too monotonous for me, so we're now going to talk about building an AFK fish farm. AFK fish farms are different on Bedrock from Java. On Java, these farms were changed so that if you AFK fished, you wouldn't get the treasure loot, you'd just get the junk and the fish. Although I'll be showing you how to build an AFK fish farm, this isn't my design, it's from Silent Whisper, who I'd highly recommend going and checking out if you haven't already. In terms of what you're going to need, it should be pretty easy. You're going to need 4 chests, a hopper, a piston, 2 note blocks, 1 pressure plate, 2 pieces of redstone, 1 half slab and a block. You'll also need a fence. Additional blocks, fences, hoppers and chests can also be used to make your farm a little bit safer and to expand your storage. You'll probably also need a bucket for helping moving water. Basically, to get all these items, you're just going to need to get yourself some wood, some cobblestone, a little bit of redstone, a little bit of iron, and that should be pretty much it, I think, so it's really easy to get hold of all this stuff early game. Now we've talked about what you need, let's get building. Just to say, I'm building in the water as it makes more sense to me, but you can build this farm wherever you want and just move the water to wherever it's needed. We'll start by placing a half slab and 2 chests. As we're placing these in water, they're obviously waterlogged. We can remove the water from them so they'd look like you'd expect them to on land. The middle chest is the only one that needs to be waterlogged, so we'll get our bucket of water, and if we shift click onto the chest it will become waterlogged. This will be where you cast your rod into. We're then going to place 2 note blocks on top of each other behind the slab here. We'll create a bit of space by digging out a 2x3 area that's 2 deep. And then we'll dig out 4 more blocks on the left hand side. The water is obviously flowing into this area now, but we'll sort that out in a second. We then need to grab 2 chests and a hopper. The chest can be placed over here with the hopper going into it. The fence can then be placed on the hopper with the pressure plate on top of it. And that will stop the water from flowing into this area. The next thing to do, you can just take your piston and place it facing up. You may need to jump if you're stood on a chest like I was. We'll then remove that block and pop down 2 pieces of wood with redstone on top. We'll just place a block on top of the chest to stop it opening too. I almost forgot, but lastly we'll just need to pop another block into this corner to stop us from moving over too far. And yeah, that's our AFK fish farm sorted. Really easy, right? We can then take out our fishing rod and aim it at this half slab, at the second pixel down just on the inside of the half slab where the water is. You can see the pixels are in different colours on this piece of wood. so it makes it quite easy to see the second pixel down. If you right click to cast your rod, you can then see the bobber rests on the pressure plate, which causes the piston to extend. As the piston extends, as you click your rod, you will start hitting the note block instead of reeling in your rod, which is exactly what you want to happen. Let's just cast that again, and you should see eventually as a fish comes along, the piston retracts and we reel in the rod, catching the haul which goes in the chest. Perfect. So far I've been manually clicking, but you can actually get an auto clicker like the one in the description. You just need to set it to automatically click the right mouse button every 200 milliseconds. Before we're done with the farm though, we just want to think about how we can protect ourselves from mobs. We're going to surround the farm in 2 high fences. It's worth saying if you place a fence on the note block, it will stop making sound. I'm happy with that, but some people like the sound, so just be aware if you're going to do that. We'll leave a hole on the side for our entrance, and then the last thing to think about is phantoms. We'll pop some slabs on top to protect us, but make sure to leave that sky access clear, otherwise you can harm your rates by about 20%. Lastly, I'm just going to dig below the AFK fish farm so we can expand our storage. We'll pop a torch down to light up the place and some ladders to help us get up and down. We can then zigzag our storage down by connecting hoppers and chests to the back wall. We can even double this up for more storage if it becomes necessary. I think we're all sorted now and we're ready for some AFKing. It's obviously dark and raining, and whilst I usually wouldn't like that, rain actually increases the chance of catching something by about 40%, which is massive, and a really nice detail they added to the game. So we're safe in our hut, we're going to make the most of the weather and now do some AFK fishing to see what we can catch. You can probably tell by my levels that I've been fishing for a while now. I've been trying to get a Fortune 3 book, but still haven't had much luck. The best I've done so far is a Fortune 2. I might have another one somewhere, so I'm hoping I can combine them into a Fortune 3 book instead. Despite the number of levels and amount of loot, I actually haven't been here for that long. I've just left it on in the background for 5 or 6 hours while I've been doing a few other bits. I'm going to organise our loot now so we can see what we've got. Now we've sorted out all the loot, it's time to take a look and see what we got. We have almost 2 chests of enchanted bows, 2 chests of enchanted rods with some great enchantments on them. We've also got just over 2 chests of books. For context, this is how many mending books I got, and considering I was still struggling to get that Fortune 3 book, you can definitely tell luck wasn't in my favour. I've then got 3 chests with junk items in, like saddles, boots and bottles and unenchanted rods. To be honest, stuff I don't really need. I've then got 1.5 chests of fish, so I don't think I'll be going hungry anytime soon. And then a few other bits on the side, like some bones, ink sacs, name tags, a few nautilus shells, and a few other bits I've got from fishing. So overall I've got some good odds and ends as well. You can see why AFK fishing can be seen as too overpowered, given the time invested and the amount of effort it took to kind of set up our AFK fish farm. I wanted to get some basics for mining and mainly get the Fortune 3 book, but I don't think I'm going to be using a lot of this loot to kind of skip ahead. I quite like to kind of work to actually get the progress in this game, so I'm going to be showing you a few other ways to kind of get mending books and to get all your gear enchanted as well. You can look forward to that in future episodes. Hopefully this has given a really good overview of fishing and how to make the most of it. It looks like the sun is setting, so it must be almost time to say goodbye. Thank you for watching, don't forget to subscribe and like, and see you again next time. Thanks, bye!